Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. Remember to wear that face mask if you are in crowds, sanitize and wash your hands frequently. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you if you think your cryptocurrency is safe, as we've experienced what seems to be the biggest crypto theft in history. Results of that are coming up later in the program. Firstly, here's what's coming up in this program. As we've had phones that flip, that fold, and that are shaped like our faces, we find out if this means anything or if it's just tech companies being gimmicky. We meet a woman who's created her own home science experiment kits. And we chat about the shortage of women coders. That conversation is with Nyari Samushonga, who is the CEO at We Think Code. The folks at We Think Code are hard at work putting together their Durban offices. Now, they've been training people how to code for free in Johannesburg and Cape Town up until now. They now want to expand to Durban. And maybe those that are trained here will end up working for some of the top tech companies all over the world, really. Now, on those tech companies, you know how smartphones have had shapes that curve, phones that flip, and phones that open up like a book sometimes. Well, does this really mean anything, or is this just for gimmick purposes? Here's producer Sandile Hlangane on the launch of some devices and why they do what they do and shaped the way they're shaped.
Foldable smartphones are arriving in many different shapes and forms. Some, like this Galaxy Z Fold 3 5G, have two screens. When you unfold them, you get a tablet with a spacious screen. Once it's shut, you have a second outer touch screen to type away at. The question is that something we even want?
So I think I would buy a flip phone because I remember back in the day they did come out, but then they had functioning problems. But now in this day and age, I think technology is evolving to a point where you wouldn't really want to miss out on things.
I don't think for me I'm gonna consider buying that because there was an issue with your V360.
I would definitely consider buying it because now when I'm thinking about what we have now, this kind of set of phones, phones break all the time. And all we want is the security of the phone because they carry a lot of information, right, about our lives in general. But that phone comes off, it's portable, first of all. Second of all, if it falls, then it means it's secured.
Tech companies like Samsung, Motorola and Huawei sure hope so.
When we look at and listen to our consumers in terms of how they're using the devices and what additional features they wanted, we had to take the time and ask ourselves, what is the next best experience that we can offer our consumer? So when we look at how we live in this day and age, we are multitasking, we are taking pictures at different angles, we are working from home, we are learning from home, and our device is our key tool that enables all of that to be done.
Samsung revealed its new folding and flip smartphones in bid to take niche handset mainstream. Folding screen technology is certainly fascinating and worth keeping an eye on. But the consensus among consumer technology experts we talked to was that you and I should probably wait for the devices to mature before even considering buying one.
A lot of us buy into nostalgia. That is a huge selling point. So we think about the V360s that we had, the Motorola, the Z Fold, or the fold phones and the flip phones of yesteryear. I think that the market, they're trying to let us buy into that nostalgia again, but where we currently stand with these high, the AMOLED screens and the LEDs and the glass screens, I don't think it's quite practical, and hence I don't see quite a lot of people carrying those around. So it brings up quite a few challenges. The nostalgia, yeah, it's cute, I think, for a moment, but in the long run, I don't think it's a viable device.
Matsila is referring to reports that say earlier this year, Samsung's foldable phones were reported to be cracking. In parts of the world, they said this is because of the winter cold. Samsung says the bendable devices are intended to push the boundaries of mobile experiences.
So with Samsung, we invest quite extensively in research and development. And one of those things that we have brought to the fore with the device, with the foldables category, particularly in terms of opening and closing, one or a consumer can open and close the fold up to 200,000 times, which equals to about 10 years of usage. So durability tech in terms of making sure that the consumer don't worry about fragility. We give consumers a new experience and a better experience. And one such experience that I can elaborate on, for example, is around watching and using the S Pen. Because with the Galaxy Z Fold 3 particularly, we are introducing the first ever S Pen in foldables category.
The new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 has a 6.2 display which unfolds into a 7.6 tablet-style screen. It comes with a selfie camera hidden beneath the flexible display, supports a range of tablet features including a taskbar for switching between apps and the S Pen. The Galaxy Z Fold 3 5G will retail from $37,999. It is available for pre-order starting on 1st September 2021.
When most people upload photographs on social media, you can bet that a lot of those photographs have been filtered in one way or another. But why do people do this? Let's find out from someone who actually creates some of these filters.
My name is Zofa Wallace. I'm a 27-year-old visual artist. So I deal with videos and photography. I'm trying to link reality and dreams. And recently I started doing augmented reality. What got me into it, I think it was during lockdown. I had a key interest in kind of seeing what other avenues I can get into to express myself without physically having to go out and take these videos and photos. Then I got an interest in 3D modeling. I started to do 3D modeling. Then I stumbled across a tutorial on YouTube about face filters. So I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. Let me kind of see what that is about. And like it's quite it's called augmented reality. So augmented reality is kind of adding a digital layer on top of a real life setting. I started trying to take it to the next level by creating like AR showrooms or digital galleries, you know, so people from the comfort of their home can experience artists' work. So a lot of people ask me what AR is. So I think it's still a very young industry. So I'm not really sure. I don't think the masses know about augmented reality. A lot of the people that I look up to in the game, some are from South America to London, you know. So, but then when you look at African creators, it's not really a lot, and I think it's mainly because of lack of information. And a lot of people, I think, it scares them having to think of doing something like that because it looks complex, you know. I think for me, the top two countries for me who are really killing the game in the AR space is Russia and India. That's they're more technologically advanced. I think they a lot of the people in these respective countries go into IT. For Africa, I think it's kind of looked down upon, I guess. What's weird is that now, since after I started learning how to do filters and working with these people, I started building an African narrative so that I can kind of create a style that maybe these big brands will look for at some point, you know.
Bathabile Mpofu went to a school without science laboratories, so she only started doing science experiments for the very first time at university. That led her to creating her own science experiment kits. Let's find out about this phenomenal woman.
My name is Bathabile Mpofu. I'm the co-founder of Nkazimulo Applied Sciences, and we help young people become confident scientists. I was born KwaNongoma, and I went to primary schools in Nongoma. I went to primary schools in Hlabisa, and then I went to a high school in Ulundi called Impumelelo High School. We did have a lab, which obviously had no science equipment, so we used it as a classroom. So all of our education, actually, we just learned from the book, and back then there was no YouTube, there were no videos. You just have to see the pictures in the textbook and imagine what the reaction actually looks like. when I was going to high school, I actually wanted to become a medical doctor. But our school was under-resourced in many ways. So even when I applied to get into medical school, I didn't make it. And the option that I had was to do a BSc in chemistry and biology with an intention of then going to medical school after that. And then the first day I was in a lab, wow, that was quite an experience, very overwhelming. The lecturer gave us a sheet of paper, allocated us lockers, and gave us this paper to check if our lockers had all the items on the list. And I looked at the list and I was like, what is a volumetric flask? What is a pipette? It was quite overwhelming. And at the school where I came from, I was actually known as one of the ones who had a high aptitude. So to find myself in a lab and not knowing what is going on completely shattered my confidence. I eventually finished the BSc degree, and I was fortunate that I did get a job at a university as a technician to help students do their science experiments. And I could see countless number of learners who came from rural backgrounds actually go through the same experience as I went through. I could absolutely see it in their faces that that's what's happening with them. What I did was I purchased chemicals and lab glassware, and then I went to schools showing the kids, this is how you do the science experiments. But then 6 months later, I realized that that was not very impactful because I'm still the person doing the science experiments, not the learners, and they only get to see me do that once. So then the idea of the kits came about. We have a number of science kits starting from grade 4. So we've got a grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, 7, all the way to matric kits. So this is an example of a grade 11 kit. It comes with the basic chemicals and apparatus and an instruction manual that a learner can actually use to perform science experiments that they are expected to perform in class. The kit comes with the instructions that obviously need to be followed. It comes with the safety glasses. It comes with the gloves that a learner needs to put on. I'm actually looking forward to one medical doctor who will say, I used a ChemStart kit when I was at school, and it gave me the confidence so that I could become the scientist I actually wanted to be.
It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat about the shortage of women who take up coding initiatives or initiatives that teach people how to code, even if these are for free. It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. I'm still at the We Think Code offices in Durban. They teach people how to code free of charge.
If you look at the demand within the IT industry, over the last couple of years, the demand skyrocketed. But not just that, the demand for unemployment within the country has risen so high. And we want to give the opportunity to underprivileged individuals in order to gain that opportunity to work in an industry that's so high in demand, that is so complex, and then just give them an opportunity that they would never have experienced before.
It's great to see initiatives that are training people how to code expanding to more parts of South Africa, so more people can learn how to code, as we know that a lot of new jobs in the tech sector are coding jobs, as much as there are professions that are culling the number of people in those professions. But what we've heard time and time again is that there aren't enough female coders in South Africa and Africa, and probably the rest of the world as well. We Think Code, though, tells us that their uptake has come to 50%, and they now have reached that gender parity. To unpack this a bit more for us is CEO at We Think Code, and that is Nyari Samushonga. Hello, and thank you very much for being a part of our network, Nyari. Perhaps maybe if you can start by telling us on why there's such a shortage of female coders.
Hello, Spumelele, and thank you so much for having me. I think it's a common story, right? The story of underrepresentation, be it underrepresentation by gender or race. It's steeped in certain historical context, where at a certain point, the idea of coding becomes a construct of a man's domain. And so for many years, even in universities, as they recruit, women would be self-selecting out and electing to join other professions. And then when they enter, they're a minority, and that minority nature also then creates an alienation, so they leave in larger numbers than men. And so that's kind of the status quo as it sits right now. And it's essentially a global crisis, where about 20% of people in technical roles in software are actually women.
And how have you been trying to solve this problem at Within Code?
We looked at how we were testing. And by using certain tests that were, almost very close to coding, they tended to favor people that had coded before. Whereas, as I described, with young women self-selecting out of coding, a lot of the young women that were coming into our world had never coded before. So we now had to test for attributes that correlate to success in coding rather than coding itself. I mean, we've just come out of the Olympics. If you want to see who's the best team to take to the Olympics for the 100 meters, you ask everyone to run, and the fastest one is the one you take. Now we have a situation where we want to recruit into coding people that have never coded. So we've got to find a way to say, what are the attributes that, Nyari would have today that will help her be successful on a journey to learn to code? And that became about introducing young women to pseudocode within our selection process. So it's a 6-day boot camp. We introduce them to the concepts, we test them on the concepts. We start off with simple concepts to make it very accessible. And then we want to see how quickly they start to grasp increasingly complex aspects. And that makes the selection process inclusive. And then the third thing that we did is on our campuses, because we also started off with 6%, then got up to 17%, then 25% women. They were a minority. So putting support networks and mentorship around them to make sure we're understanding what's making it harder for them on campus than for the young men, and providing that support.
We talk about attracting more women into coding. Why would it be so important to have more female coders?
The obvious reason is when you look at software now, everywhere in your life, you're touched by it one way or the other. When you look at your medical record system, when you look at education going offline, when you look at social media, if you're in a banking situation, most of us are banking on our apps, we're banking on our computers. So essentially every aspect of life is now being executed in some way or the other using software. And when you have a situation like that where software becomes ubiquitous, it's important that the people that build that software are also representative of the world we come from. Because then that means we get solutions that work for everyone. Because we all solve from our perspective, whether we realize it or not, and we all inherently have biases. What diversity does is it addresses that by creating a broad set of views at the table. And that's definitely what we need in software. And it's not just women, we need more African representation, we need more racial diversity. Because when something is as important as software is becoming, it definitely needs to be created by people who represent all of what we want to solve.
At Within Code, you've reached this gender parity, Nyari. So what's next for you guys?
Within Code has always been primarily about training Africa's next generation of top tech talent. And so we work with global experts, local experts, our partners locally that are big consumers of software talent. And what we are looking at is creating this reliable pipeline of African talent in software. The issue we found was that we were creating a reliable pipeline that wasn't gender representative. And so essentially we march on now with that mission, knowing that the young people that are on our campuses represent previously excluded people. Our campuses are 50% women now, and not only that, they have 60% of our students come from extreme low income backgrounds. So we're talking households that are less than 75,000 rands household income per annum. And so for us, it's always been about building great tech, but it was always important that that great tech that we're building is built by people that represent our world. And so we're continuing with improving the curriculum to have a more diverse set of solutions on there so that our students are prepared to work in different and varying endpoints, be it in financial services, in education, in health. We want to be all over, and we want Africans sitting there and building that technology.
All right, Nyari Samushonga, thank you very much for being a part of our network. Nyari Samushonga there is CEO at Within Code. And with that, let's take a quick break. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. I'm still at the We Think Code offices in Durban. They teach people how to code free of charge. And these offices, or these spaces rather, are still a work in progress. They have offices in Joburg and Cape Town as well. But let's find out first what took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
Three Tunisian brothers couldn't afford to buy a car, so they built one. 4 years later, the trio manufactured the car of their dreams and now hope to open up their own production line.
احنا 3 اخوات، حيدر، منتصر، سليم الخفيفي، من الصغرى مغرومين بالسيارات. 2015 جاتنا الفكرة باش نصنعوا سيارة تتماشى مع البيئة اللي نسكنوا فيها.
The brothers have worked on their car since 2015, spending holidays and weekends tweaking and testing it. Resembling a buggy, the light green painted vehicle has been a success for them, as well as proof that they can make their dreams come true. And now in Indonesia. Designed with the help of a group of Indonesian university lecturers to entertain a village, a homemade robot has found a new use during the pandemic, bringing food and hopefully a smile to self-isolating residents who have contracted COVID-19.
Karena dengan kondisi COVID dan ada varian baru itu namanya varian Delta, maka robot itu untuk sementara saya alih fungsikan sebagai pelayanan masyarakat untuk menyemprot desinfektan, mengantar makanan untuk isoman, dan juga penyemprotan tanaman. Itu jadi sementara ini saya alih fungsikan untuk ke masyarakat yang membutuhkan.
The village where the robot operates is in Surabaya, which is the capital of East Java province and Indonesia's second biggest city. Surabaya has been swept up by a devastating second wave of coronavirus infections in the past month. Off to Japan. Tokyo 2020 invited journalists to witness a demonstration from the Olympics and Paralympics mascot-themed robots Miria Toa and Someiti.
もともと本当に人に近いところで動くロボットっていうのを開発するのがもともと我々の狙いでした。そういった意味でこういった親しみやすいロボット、特に今回はお子さんにとってと思ってやってますけれども、人と共生できるロボットっていうのを今後より作り上げていきたいと思っています。
The sports events representative said that there were 10 of these robots. 2 of these are currently at the Paralympic Village and 8 have visited special needs schools.
Polynetwork has said that more than $600 million worth of cryptocurrency has been stolen on their platform. They have reached out to the hackers on Twitter, and they say that this could be the biggest crypto theft in history. So this week, our Twitter poll is asking you if you think that your crypto is safe in the platforms that you are investing in. 24% of those that responded to our poll say yes. There's 37% of you who say no, and a further 39%, and that's the majority. Those are people who don't invest in cryptocurrency yet. And that's it. So that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. On email. Remember to wear that face mask in crowds, wash your hands, and sanitize. From me, Spumela Lezondi, and the rest of the team. Have a good one. Bye-bye.